At 9:15 a.m. on June 4, 1940, a British Home Guard volunteer named Arthur Penny stood on a cliff overlooking the English Channel. His uniform was ill-fitting. His rifle was from World War I, and in his satchel he carried a weapon that terrified him more than the Germans did. It was a glass sphere filled with liquid nitroglycerin covered in a wool sock and coated in a glue so strong it could rip the skin off your hand. Arthur had been told that if a German Panzer tank rolled up the beach, he was to run up to it, smash this glass ball against the steel hull, and run away in 5 seconds. He wasn't an engineer, but he knew basic physics: glass breaks. Nitroglycerin is unstable, and running toward a tank with a fragile bomb in your pocket is a suicide mission. This was the number 74 grenade. The troops called it the sticky bomb. It is widely considered one of the worst, most dangerous, and most hated weapons ever issued to an army. But in the desperate summer of 1940, when Britain had left all its anti-tank guns on the beaches of Dunkirk, this sticky glass ball was the only thing standing between Hitler and London. The sticky bomb wasn't designed by the Royal Ordnance Board. It was designed by a group of mavericks, chemists, and mad scientists working in a secret department called MD1, famously known as Churchill's toy shop. The head of this unit was Major Millis Jeffers. He was a sapper and engineer who didn't care about safety regulations, he cared about results. The problem in 1940 was simple: German tanks had 30 millimeters of steel armor. The British infantry had .303 caliber rifles. The math didn't work. To kill a tank you needed high explosives, but you couldn't just throw a bomb at a tank, it would bounce off. Gravity was the enemy. Jeffers realized that to transfer the full energy of an explosion into steel, the bomb had to be in direct contact with the metal. It had to hug the armor. He needed a magnet, but German tanks were often coated in zimmerit, a non-magnetic paste, or covered in mud. Magnets failed, so Jeffers turned to chemistry. He hired 2 colloid scientists from Cambridge University, Dr. Schulman and Dr. Riedel. He asked them a question that sounded like a joke: can you make a bomb that catches flies? The scientists looked at the natural world. They studied birdlime, a sticky substance made from holly bark used by poachers to trap birds. It was a viscoelastic fluid. It didn't dry out. It grabbed onto anything: dust, metal, wet paint, and refused to let go. But you couldn't just paint a metal bomb with glue, it would slide off. They needed a wick to hold the glue. They found the solution in the textile industry: wool. They knitted a woolen sock, soaked it in a resin-based adhesive, and pulled it over a glass flask. Why glass? Because metal fragments fly outward and kill the user. Glass turns to powder. It was safer for the thrower, theoretically. Inside the glass, they poured 1.25 pounds of nitroglycerin mixed with additives to make it a gel. It was a squash head warhead before the term existed. The design was finalized: a glass ball, a sticky sock, a plastic handle containing a 5-second fuse, and a protective metal casing that peeled off like a chocolate orange. It looked like a confectionery item, but it was chemically unstable. The army refused to make it. The Ordnance Board called it criminally dangerous, so Churchill intervened. He ordered the production of 2.5 million sticky bombs, but who would build them? A munitions factory wouldn't touch the glue. They found a partner in Stockport, K. Brothers. They weren't weapons manufacturers, they made flypaper. The blue-collar genius of this story isn't a soldier, it's the factory workers of K. Brothers. They retrofitted their machines to coat grenades instead of fly strips. The assembly line was a nightmare. The glue was so strong that if a worker touched a bomb without greased gloves, they couldn't let go. If they pulled too hard, the glass broke and the nitroglycerin spilled. The factory smelled of resin and fear. Yet they produced thousands a day, shipping them out in wooden crates marked "handle with care." When the crates arrived at the training camps, the soldiers were horrified. The manual for the number 74 grenade read like a bad comedy sketch. Instruction 1: pull the pin to release the protective metal casing. Instruction 2: the casing falls away, revealing the sticky ball. Instruction 3: smash the ball against the tank. Instruction 4: run. But the physics of adhesion caused a deadly problem. The glue didn't just stick to tanks, it stuck to uniforms. During training, soldiers would pull the casing release and the sticky ball would swing back and attach itself to their trousers. Panic would set in. A soldier with a live grenade glued to his leg has 5 seconds to live. He can't throw it. He can't rip it it off, the glue is stronger than the fabric. The only solution was to rip the trousers off. There are reports of home guard drills ending with men running half-naked across fields, diving into ditches as their pants exploded behind them. The troops hated it. They nicknamed it the sticky, but mostly they used words that cannot be printed. They saw it as a symbol of how desperate the war had become. "They want us to fight panzers with jam jars," one sergeant wrote. But the sticky bomb had a secret. The soldiers judged it by its casing. They didn't understand the physics of what happened after it stuck. They didn't understand the spalling effect. This wasn't a frag grenade, it was a shockwave generator. And in the deserts of North Africa, the German tank commanders were about to learn that a glass ball could kill a tiger. They didn't understand the spalling effect. To a soldier, the sticky bomb looked weak because it didn't have a piercing nose cone. It looked like a blob, but that blob shape was the secret. This was the grandfather of the modern high-explosive squash head round. When a hard, pointed shell hits armor, it tries to drill through. If the armor is too thick, the shell bounces off. But when a sticky bomb hit a tank, the glass sphere shattered. The nitroglycerin gel didn't explode immediately. For a microsecond, it spread out like pancake batter, covering a large surface area of the steel. Then the fuse triggered. Because the explosive was hugging the metal, the shockwave didn't go sideways into the air, it went through the steel armor. It moved like a sound wave. When that shockwave hit the inside wall of the tank, the physics of tensile stress took over. The steel couldn't stretch, so it tore apart. A scab of jagged steel the size of a dinner plate would fly off the interior wall at the speed of a bullet. The tank looked undamaged on the outside. No hole, no smoke. But inside, the crew was being shredded by their own armor. It was a weapon that turned the tank's strength into shrapnel. In February 1943, the British Army was fighting in Tunisia. The terrain wasn't a lush English field, it was rock dust and heat. And the enemy wasn't the Panzer III anymore, it was the Tiger I. The Tiger was 54 tons of German engineering. Its frontal armor was 100 millimeters thick. The standard British anti-tank gun, the 2-pounder, bounced off it like gravel. Allied soldiers had a saying, "One Tiger is worth 10 Shermans." When a Tiger appeared on the ridge at the Battle of Thala, the infantry froze. They had no air support. They had no heavy artillery. They only had the crates marked sticky. A platoon from the Black Watch Regiment was pinned down. The Tiger was rolling forward, its 88-millimeter gun dismantling their cover. The soldiers realized that shooting the Tiger was useless. They had to disable it. This is the mathematics of courage. The Tiger tank moves at 25 miles per hour off-road. The sticky bomb fuse is 5 seconds. The lethal blast radius is 20 yards. To use it, you don't just have to be brave, you have to be suicidal. The soldier waited in a shallow trench. The ground shook. The Tiger's tracks, each link weighing 60 pounds, ground the rocks into powder. The dust cloud was blinding. This was the only advantage. The German crew couldn't see directly below their hull. When the tank was 10 yards away, the soldier pulled the pin. The casing fell away. The sticky glass ball was exposed. He didn't throw it. You can't throw a sticky bomb. It might stick to your hand or hit the ground and not the tank. You have to place it. He broke cover. He sprinted through the machine gun fire. He reached the side of the moving monster. He didn't aim for the hull. He aimed for the drive sprocket, the toothed wheel that turns the track. He smashed the glass ball against the steel fender right above the track. The glue grabbed. The wool sock held. He pulled the lever. Click. 1, 2. He dove away, rolling into a crater. 3, 4, 5. The explosion wasn't a Hollywood fireball. It was a sharp, cracking thud. The nitrogen blast hammered the drive sprocket. The steel pins holding the track links together sheared off. The heavy track unspooled like a dead snake. The Tiger lurched to the left and stopped. A 54-ton tank with one track is no longer a predator, it is a pillbox. It can turn its turret, but it cannot move. It cannot retreat. It is dead in the water. The crew inside, disoriented by the concussion, tried to traverse the gun, but other soldiers swarmed the immobilized beast. They climbed the back deck. They smashed another sticky bomb onto the engine vents. This time the squash head effect worked. The shockwave shattered the engine block. The fuel ignited. The crew belayed out, hands in the air. The infantry looked at the smoking wreck. They looked at the weird glass ball in their hands. They realized that the jam jar they hated had just killed the king of the battlefield. The reputation of the sticky bomb began to shift. It wasn't loved, but it was respected. In Italy, at the Battle of Anzio in 1944, the 1st Special Service Force course, the Devil's Brigade used them aggressively. They found that the glue worked on anything. They stuck them to door frames to clear houses. They stuck them to railroad tracks to stop supply trains. A Canadian soldier named Private George Hunter reportedly used a sticky bomb to destroy a German machine gun nest by sticking it to the end of a long pole and shoving it through the bunker slit. It was the blue-collar solution. If you don't want to get close, make your arm longer. But for every success, there was a tragedy. The chemistry was unstable. In humid climates, the nitroglycerin became volatile. In cold climates, the glue froze and wouldn't stick. In 1944, a crate of sticky bombs exploded in a transport truck in France simply because the truck hit a pothole. 6 men died. The weapon was as dangerous to its owners as it was to the enemy. By 1945, better weapons had arrived. The PIAT, the bazooka, weapons that let you kill a tank from 100 yards away. The sticky bomb was declared obsolete. The army ordered them to be destroyed, but you can't just throw a million glass bombs in the trash. The disposal of the sticky bombs became a crisis in itself. By 1945, the British Army had stockpiles of nearly a million unused No. 74 grenades, but nitroglycerin has a shelf life. Over time, it sweats. The explosive seeps out of the gel and forms pure unstable droplets on the glass. A crate of sweating sticky bombs is a bomb waiting for a breeze. The army couldn't transport them. The vibration of a truck would detonate them. They couldn't disassemble them. The glue made it impossible to remove the casing without breaking the glass. So the blue-collar solution was applied: shoot them. In quarries across England and France, engineers stacked the crates, walked back 300 yards, and fired rifle rounds into the pile. The resulting explosions were massive. It was the unceremonious end to a weapon that cost millions to develop. There are very few surviving examples of the sticky bomb in museums today because most of them simply rotted and blew up. Most people know the sock bomb from the movie Saving Private Ryan. In the final battle, Tom Hanks and his men put Composition B explosive into socks, cover them in axle grease, and stick them to Tiger tanks. That scene is brilliant cinema, but it is physically misleading. The grease sock was an improvisation. The No. 74 sticky bomb was an industrial. The movie makes it look easy: slap it on and it sticks. In reality, the No. 74 was heavy. If the tank was dusty, it fell off. If the tank was wet, it fell off. Soldiers had to slam it against the metal to engage the adhesive. And unlike the movie where the explosion blows the track off cleanly, the real sticky bomb was a crew killer. It relied on the spalling we discussed. The tank didn't stop because the track broke. It stopped because the driver had shrapnel in his brain. The reality was much uglier, much messier, and much more terrifying than Hollywood depicts. The No. 74 grenade disappeared, but the physics did not. The principle of squashing plastic explosive against armor to create a shockwave became the standard for the British Army. They developed the HESH shell high explosive squash head. Today, the British Challenger 2 tank, one of the most advanced in the world, still fires HESH rounds. It is the direct descendant of the glass ball Arthur Penny carried in 1940. While other nations switched to sabot rounds, the British remembered the lesson of the sticky bomb. You don't always need to pierce the armor. Sometimes you just need to ring the bell so hard that everything inside dies. The sticky bomb was a weapon born of panic. It was a glass ball filled with death, covered in birdlime, handed to men with no training. It was hated, mocked, and feared by the men who carried it. But in the dark days of 1940 and the dust of Tunisia, it did the impossible. It gave a foot soldier a chance against a tank. It proved that when your back is against the wall, you don't need a high-tech missile. You just need a glass flask, a wool sock, and the courage to run toward the thing that wants to kill you.